Well, today we're going to start out with a question. What is the difference between old radio and new radio? Well, I've been around long enough to know the difference. I grew up in the age of radio. I was just a young lad at that time, but uh, I thought radio was really a neat thing. And I think I shared this before on one of my other episodes, and that is I built a crystal set when I was just a young boy. Now, many don't even know what a crystal set is. Oh, it's just a bunch of electronics put together and it made up a radio. Back in the days when radio was invented, it became quite popular because people would get on a series of microphones with scripts and they would uh, dramatize stories. They had sound effects and they made it sound real. You could hear the slamming of a door or ringing of a telephone. A lot of them were detective shows. And just to mention a few, Mr. and Mrs. North, The Inner Sanctum, Only the Shadow Knows. All these old shows were really great, and they were entertaining. And then television came along, and radio was kind of set back in the shadows. And then it soon became dusty. But we depended on radios back then because we got the news. And we also got, besides entertainment, we got the weather. We got all the things that we have on television right now. And what I mean by that is not all the shows and stuff, but the subject matter. Well, today we have mostly music. People listen to music. Even back then, they had the big band era, and everybody listened to Tommy Dorsey and so many others. And it was really nice. But then there were things on the radio that weren't very nice either, though. But nothing like we see on television today. Television has just got crazy. There's no such thing as morality anymore. Even the commercials. Why did they have to show women in bras and enticing men to do sexual things that are wrong? Well, this is what the world is coming to, and I believe it's gotten so much worse. I know that things seem to be so simple when you're just a child, but as you grow into adulthood, you realize how bad things have really gotten. Yes, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, they say. And I believe that there's so many things that are terrible out there that nobody's talking about the right things. Yes, we have talk shows, and we have talk shows on the radio today. We had talk shows back then. We have soap operas on TV today, but we had soap operas back on in the old radio. I remember my mother used to listen to one show, Stella Della and Just Plain Bill. She listened to it every day. It was a daytime soap opera on the radio. And I know that there's soap operas on TV right today I don't know if there's soap operas on the radio. I got to be honest with you. I don't listen to the radio. I got it away from it. There are many out here that aren't even interested in what radio used to be. It's history, it truly is. But today we have the internet, and that's what I'm using for my radio show today. My talk show is the internet radio. And I have a show, and I do it quite often, more than once a day sometimes. And I go through old articles. In case you've never listened to my show, it's articles by writers from the past. They were gifted men, and a lot of them are just notes from old sermons. I know that we have many preachers on the internet today, and it's a visual. And what I mean by that is they appear in person. They stand before a podium, and they'll give you a sermon or a teaching. And a lot of them are good, and I recommend listening to them. But make sure you know who your teacher is, because there's a lot of false teachers out there. I have to sift through a lot of writings to find those that are teaching truth. And sometimes I don't agree with all the teachings because a lot of times men will put their own thoughts, their own interpretation on things. And we all have a tendency to do that. We all can become false teachers. I know at one time I started to teach a series, and I was called on it. And when I checked into it, I found out that I was in error. So I quit teaching on that subject. Well, I just want to kind of introduce you to my show, in case you've never listened to it before. And a lot of these old ratings, like I'm going to give you an example. A lot of people have heard of Harry Ironside, H.A. Ironside. He had almost 1,000, probably had over 1,000 ratings out there. And I got close to 1,000 episodes by Harry Ironside. I have others that are well known: William McDonald, Jim McCarthy, Daniel Stanton. Maybe you have never heard of these people, but I know that I have one out there. I forget the name of it, but Daniel Stanton was in a concentration camp during the war, and he wrote a book on his experience, and it was so touching. Well, the other day I went to look for it, and I had to go through 7,500 episodes that I have on my YouTube channel to find that series by Daniel Stanton. Let me just take a minute here. I'm going to pause for 1 second and find that article so I can tell you what the name of the book was. I found it. It's Through the Valley of the Shadow. And it was all about being in a concentration camp during the Japanese War. And I think you'd really enjoy it. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video, and you can find the whole series. I have it in a playlist. I have the whole book online. But most of my recordings that I post are writings, audios of writings. So it's like listening to an audio book, an audio article. So I'm just kind of trying to promote myself somewhat today. I'd like you to subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel, and maybe hit that notification button. I've never done this before, but there's so many good things out there that I go through, and people are missing them. And my show is Christian based, and if you're a Christian, or if you consider yourself a Christian, and you're in a denominational type church, and you're not really being fed with good things, you're going to find that the show that I air is full of good things. And I have quite a few recordings out there now. Let me just take a peek and I'll tell you how many I got. Okay, what I found is I got 14,576 videos on my YouTube channel, and only 20 of them are private. Otherwise, all the other ones are public. And I have 861 playlists out there. I tried to make a playlist for each author, and I try to organize things, sometimes just by the title of a book, if I'm doing a whole book. And like I say, I have so many good things out there. And I just want to let everybody know that they're available for you to listen to. And before I end, I just want to talk to you about what I did when I was a child. I would crawl under the covers at night with a flashlight, and I would read comic books, or I would listen to my crystal set. And I so enjoyed radio back then. And like I say today, I don't think I've turned the radio on, not even in my vehicle. And a lot of people listen to music. Oh, once in a great while, I might listen to a Christian radio station if I'm traveling. But very, very seldom. I don't travel anymore. Because of my age and my health, I have to stay close to home. So that's why I kind of started doing this as a hobby. I remember back years ago, I was really into music. Before I was a Christian, I loved secular music. And I was, it was during the years when 8-track came out. That was even before cassettes. And I thought 8-track was going to be around forever. Boy, was I wrong. But I had so many records, 45s, 33s, 78s. And then I also had music on reel-to-reel tapes. And that was back in the days when that was before internet. And I was so wrapped up in music that I was making those cassettes, not cassettes, but 8-tracks. And I took and recorded over 10,000 songs. And you know what happened is when I gave up listening to all that music, I gave it all away. And I don't regret it. I learned a lot. I was into electronics. And later on in life, I did get into computers. That's why I do what I do today. And I was in an IT department. I worked on mainframes and other computers. The personal computers were just coming out then. And we had an office that was full of computers, and I took care of them all. And then I took care of all the networks. I took care of anything that had to do with communication. And I'm still doing it. Yes, I'm an old man now, and I probably don't have much longer to live. But as long as the Lord gives me breath, I'm going to put all these good Christian articles out here. Well, that's enough chitty chat for today. I hope you enjoy my shows, and I hope you continue listening to Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded on the Internet Radio. Well, this is the end, folks. Bye for now.